Hey, good morning, guys. Goose here, and welcome to STN Stock Talk. Thanks for joining us this morning. Ricky and myself, hopefully you guys have checked out stocktraders.net. Come check out our free trading room, all of our widgets, all of our cool stuff. Our community is amazing. We're always adding, at least every month, it seems like we're adding new stuff, and it's an incredible community. And most importantly, be part of the community. Anything that we're covering in these broadcasts, guys, feel free to join the free trading floor. It's a free room, and you can message any one of the instructors there and ask questions. I think once you start, realizing the people in the community, I think you guys will really like it. So I encourage you guys to come check us out, please, and feel free to ask us any questions. Just want to remind you to read the disclaimer below in the description area. When Ricky and I are on Stock Talk, or anybody comes in on Stock Talk, we're not trying to solicit you guys. All we're doing is trying to cover some of the movers going on or some of the unique situations that we're looking at. And just to give you guys a different perspective, a couple ideas that maybe you haven't looked at already. And we're not trying to throw 20 ideas a day at you guys. We're just throwing a couple each or a few each and get through it within 10 minutes or so and get on with our day. So hopefully you guys have found it helpful. If you have, please tell your friends about it. We're always trying to grow our community. So with that all being said, I'm excited to see what Ricky has on the agenda today. I think we have a good day ahead of us, and I'll turn it over to Ricky and see what we have.
Thanks a lot, Goose. Yeah, I like to think that we give a nice mixed bag of picks and things we're looking at. I mean, you're always coming with some things that are not on my list, and I feel like I'm covering some of the things that maybe you're not covering. So hopefully we're giving a good mixture of value to everybody. So that being said, guys, let's get into my list. The first thing I'm looking at today is CLSD, which happens to be something Goose covered on day 2 after the big move, and he absolutely nailed that call. And this is actually my attempt at a Goose type play. So you can see that after the big push up, after the big retrace, we've had 4 red days in a row, and it's also retraced right around to the 61.8 fib, and that's if you're drawing it from the low of 10 up into the highs. So you can see that 12 area is pretty key. So that's what I'm watching. Not only the retrace to that level, but they also did an offering that priced at 13, and we've actually come down below that now. And they had earnings this morning, and so with earnings and the offering out of the way, and we got 4 red days in a row, I think we may see a turn today. And I'll show you the levels I'm looking at. On the 5-minute chart here, you can see that if we have bottomed, we are starting to kind of push up, put in a little low there, and I thought that over 1250 may be what kind of sends this upwards again. So I'm looking to play this with 12 as my risk. But again, I needed to show me some support once the market actually opens. Right now, I don't think is indicative of anything. So once we get some actual volume, I'll be able to get a read on that. The next thing on my list, guys, is ITUS. This company has been one that I've followed for quite a while. And noticed that the other night, I was looking at charts and filings and stuff, and I saw they finally pushed back up over this 5 level. So it's back on my radar. They had a $3 million ATM with B. Riley and actually just canceled it before they ever sold a single share. However, they were less than $700,000 away from the 75 million MVPHS level. And that was while using the 499 closing that they had back on, what was that, September 26th, it looks like. But with the close yesterday of 522, they're well above it now, and it can raise any amount they want from their shelf. And they do have an active shelf. I believe it's for 24 million. And from a technical standpoint, I would like to see this thing crack 5. You can see I have an alert set up on it, so I don't have to constantly stare at the chart. You can see the high I put in yesterday, it kind of came down. So I'm looking for a crack under this 495 level. And then I'm going to use yesterday's high as my level of risk. I actually think, based on this yearly chart, and I mean, if you even zoom out further, it makes the case a little stronger. But this daily chart, I feel like if management wasn't kind of iffy about things, that they could actually get this thing up pretty high if they could get over that 650 level. But they're voting on an increase in authorized shares this month, so we know where management's head is really at. And for those reasons, I'm still full-time bearish on this thing. The last thing on my list, guys, is SIG, SIG, Signet Jewelers. These guys just missed earnings again. You can see this chart's just horrendous. They're just losing these big levels that they really needed to hold. I kind of just got the pop I was looking for almost. Basically, I needed a pop to 45 or higher to get interested. We fell just shy of it, and then it faded straight back off. So right now, I am waiting to see if it does indeed get another pop or push anything up towards that 45 level, and it's going to have my interest definitely short biased on this. That's everything for me, guys. I'm going to hand it back over to my man Goose and see what he's watching today. Take it away, buddy.
Hey, awesome job as always, man. Love it. Just touch base on a couple quick things that you talked about, or one of them you talked about. On the CLSD, by the way, I love the swing idea on this as well. Exactly the points that Ricky was talking about. I will be probably putting this in a swing as a swing position in these mid-12s. I've been talking about it for the last few days. I love this idea, CLSD, for all the things he's talking about. And very cool. Very cool. So nice job on that. Also, PTI, which has been a recent runner. I think it was yesterday, whatever. Just keep in mind they have a meeting at Cowen today. So if you guys are trading that, just be aware of that as well. So I'm going to move right along, and I'm going to jump into a couple of my ideas here, guys. So I'm going to start off with VCEL. Okay, this is one that I've been watching since the big move up from $8. You can see it on the daily here. Let me drag my mouse over. Sorry, I was on the wrong one here. And you can see I just drew a line. And what I love about this, you guys know sometimes I'll look at these defined risk off these pullbacks, and this one's actually setting up for a nice flag play here. So what I'm looking at here is I'd love to get an entry in these low 11s, risk in this 1080 area. Very, very defined. If it wants to break here, probably heads down towards 10. So there's plenty of room, and there's, I could always revisit it if it does that pull. But I would love to see a push back up on this 12 area, and I might leave a little bit on to see if it wants to push up on 1250. And it's one of these that it might not be today, but I think it's setting up for that push through, and I want to be part of that because I think it's that the chart's looking really nice on the daily, especially for the risk reward on this thing. And it will probably move pretty quick. See, there's a thinner name, traded less than $1 million yesterday. So you could see it's had a green day, had 3 down days in a row, and then you have the green day on it. So I do like that. So I want to talk about one that's a little bit more funny today. RKDA I put out, and everybody's came out with great news this morning. Stock's up $4, and I'm looking for a fade on this low floater. How does that happen? Well, let me give you my theory on this thing, okay? And I've done this before, and this isn't, it's not. I'm not suggesting when I throw a short like this out there, unless the setup is there, I don't take it. I'll watch it all day and revisit it tomorrow if it wants to continue to grind and squeeze people and all that. But I want to show you where I came up with some of these numbers. First of all, the first number, 1550 area, obviously blew through that. That was yesterday's high, right? Where do I come up with 1750? Well, I've talked about this in the room, and sometimes what I've noticed is I like to cut the moves in half, and I did, I think, put that in one of my tweets. But let's take a quick peek. I mean, this stock came up from this $6 area, we'll call it, moved up to 19. So just for simple math, that's $13. So what do we have there? We got about a 650. 650 if you cut that move in half off 11 is 1750. So that's kind of where I'm coming up with these numbers. And if you look at some charts and you study some dailies, you'll see a lot of times those moves are cut in half. So far, the high this morning is 1750. I'm not sold that's going to be the high of the day, but it stopped right at that number. Coincidence? Not so sure. But we'll see how it acts. If it wants to do a lower high up in that 1750 area, I'll look for a fade. Remember, just like I said on Micron yesterday, okay, if you were fading it right at the end of the day, I had mentioned this. Make sure there's plenty of room between the VWAP and where you start your position in, because it's gonna test that VWAP and maybe bounce off of it. So if you follow the VWAP and stuff like that, make sure there's a little bit of meat there, because if it's real tight, it might be worth just waiting until it fails VWAP, does a test on it, and then maybe the fade's there. But I think this could make a nice fade after this news. And maybe pull back into the 12s or low 13s. So I think there's a trade in this, but I'm not going to get in front of it. I'm going to let the market dictate that trade to me for sure. Last one is, and this is another odd one I'm putting up there and say, okay, I don't get it. Good earnings. What are we looking at here? And I want to fly on this one too. RFIL, this is. Everything has a purpose of what I'm thinking. Here it is. Go back on the chart. You could drag this chart back as far as you want, okay? And tell me where you guys have seen a $2 move in this name, okay? We're going back a couple years now. This name just does not have a history of those type of moves. And I know there's, maybe we could justify it however we want. But to me, I always follow what the tape tells me and the history and all that. And I just don't buy that this is setting up and sustaining a $2 or $2.50 move. I'm not looking for it to jump on it and pounce right at the open here at 515 and load up. I want to see what the market says. I'll be looking for that lower high, and I will jump on it. Do I think the stock's going back to 345 where it closed yesterday? No, I don't. But do I think I get a nice 75-cent trade or 70-cent trade in it? Keep in mind, it's a 5-cent ticker. So be smart, have your plan, have your orders planned, have your stops good, and allow for that slippage. It's a 5-cent ticker, so you got to be smart with your entries and stuff. But I do think you could get a nice fade on this name. So that's really it for me today, guys. I hope you guys found that helpful. I think we have a few really good ideas out there. There's plenty on the watch list. Don't overstay. And I'm going to leave it at that. Turn it back to Ricky, and let's have an awesome day today, guys. Thanks all for tuning in.
Thanks a lot, Goose. As always, killing it. Love your ideas. Love listening to your wisdom come through. Guys, as always, if you don't have a plan, you do not have a trade. Let's stay safe out there. Capital preservation is the name of the game, but at the same time, let's go crush it. Peace.